Hi, welcome to DYCSI Face to Face. Today we have a special guest. His name is Carlos Bonilla. Carlos is currently the Strategic Planning Director in DYCSI. He's been in DYCSI for 8 years now, and he's currently doing a master's degree in Austin. He will become the head of consulting based in our office in Austin, Texas. Welcome, Carlos.
Thanks, Joe. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, first we would like to talk about the current situation, what you're doing in Austin. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing and what you see what's happening in Austin.
Of course. Yeah. So right now, I'm in the middle of a master's program in the Macomb School of Business in UT Austin. Is my last semester really, and the program is called MSITM, which stands for Master of Science in IT and Management. So far, what I can say is it's been great. It's been exciting. A lot of knowledge, a lot of insights, a lot of people, that I have been able to know, and it's been interesting. I'm fully, engaged, grateful with the university, and I could say I also like Austin as a city. It's been fun, and it's a cool place to be, and there's a lot of movement. You can see like meetups almost every day here regarding deep learning, regarding cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, and emerging technologies. And it's still a small city. There's still, like a hub right there in downtown of things happening, where things are happening, but still small. It's not, you don't get the sense of an overwhelming city. For example, when you go to Houston or LA or New York, still small. So it's growing very fast. A lot of people coming in from all over the world. A lot of people coming in from California, but still small, and still a greater deal of opportunity. And you get to know so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And for that reason, it's been great. And well, the idea is to finish that, of course, and then come back in May, June, July, after the program is finished, as the head of the operation here in the US, with a Austin-based office, and hopefully help the company, grow, and engage in a market that it's super interesting and super dynamic, and it's changing every day, and there's a big role for us to play there, I guess. So I'm excited for the things we're going to learn this semester, but also for the things that we could do once this is over, and we can get that office in the US started.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your roles in the company. You've been here for 8 years now, and how you started and what you've done, what you achieved, and a little bit about what you've done in all these 8 years.
Sure. So I started off as a developer, and a web developer. A web is the programming language, right, from the ERP from SAP.
Was this your first job after school?
Oh yeah. Well, I had some, you could say, internships.
Okay.
In the middle, trying to find an actual job, right? Tried a couple of things, but really this was my first job after school, and I didn't see myself at that point in time as a developer, as a software developer. My undergrad studies were mostly on robotics and digital systems. And for that reason, there's a lot of coding, right? But it's mostly like low-level coding. When you say low-level, I mean it in the sense of the computer architecture sense, right? Near to the very near to the controller, yeah. So I wasn't thinking about myself as a software developer, especially not a high-level software developer, because when you develop an SAP, you have to be thinking about the business and the user, and there's a little bit more of high-levelness in that I wasn't ready to do. Mm-hmm. But because I was not finding like a good match for me in robotics, and I really wasn't sure of what exactly I wanted to do, I started to look for developer jobs, and this company gave me the opportunity. And what happened really is, at that point in time, the company was located in a house, and when I went there for my interview, I was, it was very weird because
it was a startup.
Yeah, and I was not expecting, I was going to my interview, I was expecting some sort of office or building, and I looked up and it was a house, and someone opened the door of the house, and who are you looking for? And it's like, I'm looking for an interview. Is this where this place is, DYCSI? And I was like, yes. And that was the beginning of the story. There have been new offices along the way, but that was the very beginning in that house in San Pedro, Nuevo León, Mexico. And then after being an ABAP developer, maybe I was an ABAP developer, really, like only an ABAP developer for about 3 months, I think. Because next thing I knew, it was like, yeah, we need this other role. Yeah. Full startup, the startup way, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then I became a project lead for a different project. Many people at that point in time were like weirded out, or they felt strange with me as their lead, because I was only had 3 months in the company. They were teaching me how to code while I was leading them into doing it. So it was challenging, but it was also super exciting. But really, the most constant thing in my set of roles that I've had is that they keep changing. Because I've done, I think, almost every possible job that DYCSI has, especially on the engineering side of things. I've been, as I said, as an ABAP developer, a project lead, but I've also been a functional consultant. Even at some point in time, I became the quality manager. So I was in charge of the testers, and we took a whole different turn in terms of what quality meant for DYCSI. So that's when we started to care about the processes, and we started to care about quality in the sense of consistency, and not only in the sense of finding software defects, right?
Sure.
That's when we went ahead and do the TSP, Team Software Process certification for DYCSI. Then we follow along with CMMI, right? For maturing some other processes. And at that point, I think I was in Mexico's, Mexico City's office.
Yeah, you moved to Mexico City.
Yeah, so I also moved a lot. Went there, opened that office. I was some sort of account executive, I guess, to some of the customers there, because I was the one facing them. And then I came back to the headquarters, and then became an innovation manager in order to create new products. And down the road, that turned out to be or converted into strategic planning as manager of strategic planning. That's when we opened up the USA business unit.
Yeah.
Started to sell services abroad, even worldwide, and then it turned out to be converted to director of strategic planning, and now I'm here. And hopefully, this year I'll get to do this director of consulting, of the consulting operations, which essentially is what we do. So it's the head of all the operations here in the US as the next step. Yeah, but it's been a wild ride.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the projects and the company that you've participated. Which projects have been the most exciting ones and the most challenging that you faced?
Sure. Reality is that I've been blessed because I think I've been involved in every major project this company have had since I joined. So remember when I was saying I became a project lead after 3 months of being in the company as a developer? That was because a big educational institution from Mexico called Tec de Monterrey needed a loan system for student loans, right? And we needed someone that pushed hard to get things done and all that, and who could also manage the customer and the team and all that, but also who had a fit in to understand a whole new process, because we didn't do or no one in the company had ever done student loans before, and especially not these loans. This is a very special institution in Mexico. There's no other educational institution like it, and their process is unique. And so we had to start bottom up to understand it and work with them. And because that was my undergrad institution, university, I also had a little bit of an upper hand there to understand better, what was going on. So that took a whole year, and that was a lot of learning there. And then I came back to the usual banking projects that we did. Then the next big one there, I would say, is Actinver. Actinver is a bank in Mexico. It's more upper market, right? Like the not middle or lower like retail, but more like higher level customers and investments and wealth management and all that. And it is still a big bank. It's not the biggest in terms of how many accounts there are there. But it was super challenging because I think they had like 20, 30, 40 systems that were going to shut down at once. And the SAP banking solution will be live all at once. Yeah, exactly, a big bank. And all that happened through one weekend. I mean, the project was 18 months, but the cutover, right, happened over one weekend. And I remember that one weekend, I slept 8 hours out of 36 hours. How many hours? No, 72 hours. I slept 8 hours out of 72. It was crazy. Woke up on Friday. I think I went all the way through Saturday and slept 8 hours there. And then with that, I opened up the bank on Monday, 8 a.m. And I remember like one of the owners of the bank who was in charge of this transition came to us at 8 a.m. and he was like, "Are we ready to open?" And it was on us, right? It was on us to say, "Yeah, we're ready," or "We're not," right? cannot open your bank. I'm sorry, but we were, and I felt like giving him the keys of his new vehicle, and the bank opened. A lot of stuff happens when you do that. There's a lot of fires around, but we managed them. We had a great team at that point, big team as well. I think it's the time where we had the most consultants in the team and developers and all, and we did it. We were able to handle this type of big transition with loans, deposits, account management, customer management, accounting, everything, even the regulatory reports that are many in Mexico. So that was a great experience, and I would say maybe in terms of a challenge is not a bigger challenge than Actinver, but a very interesting recent experience is the New York State. I had the pleasure to work for them as a loans management consultant, because that's what they needed. We didn't have a big team in that customer, but they also had a big transition happening. They went live, and I got to know a lot of how this country, the US, works, and how the public sector works, and how a very important state in this country, which is New York State, handles their in this case is the homes and community renewal. So for fair housing and several initiatives, the HFA agency and all that. So it was a great experience on that side as well. Very financially complicated with bonds and loans and variable rates and all this. So it's very interesting. So I think I've been blessed, right? It's like I've been able to be pushed. I have been pushed. I've been blessed because I have been pushed to the extreme limits on every possible way, like crazy cutover strategies, very demanding on the IT side, on the leadership side, management side, financial side, accounting side. So
move from one place to another from the beginning. Since you started, I mean, you were pushed in the brink, and you have to fly.
Yeah,
you have to learn in the sky to fly.
Yeah, and it felt like a startup. It still feels a little bit, although the company is more mature and we have processes and we have people who we rely on to do things. But now, the US as a business unit, I'll be the only one, right? I'll be there as the only one full-time employee, and it'll still be this startup feeling to it, which I'm thankful for, right? I'm happy that I get this opportunity, because I know I learned on many different fronts a lot, and that all builds up, builds you, right, as a professional, builds you up. So that's been
awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the current market landscape, SAP Fioneer now, and the fintech market. As we might know, or people have read in the news, SAP divested its financial services unit last year. It was announced in April last year, and I think it was live on September, the 1st of September last year, 2029. SAP, as I said, divested its financial services unit and created a new unit, which is called SAP Fioneer, where SAP owns 20% of that unit, and an investment fund from Germany owns the other 80%. And this has changed the market. I mean, it's brought a lot of attention to the unit. It's brought a lot of attention and a lot of money, 500 million euros injected into this unit. So A lot of things happening in the ecosystem right now. Also, the fintech market is very, very hot. At the moment, we see a lot of news everywhere, new fintechs becoming unicorns, and also big banks like Citibank in Mexico divesting or selling its unit. So tell us a little bit about what you think about all this movement and how you see things going, forward.
Sure. So yeah, so there's a lot to break down there, right? Let's see if we can start with the fintech market. I would say so. The fintech market in itself, it's has a financial component to it and has a technology component to it. And if you start with the technology component, there's a trend in technology itself, right? That has a lot of technologies being created, a lot of technologies being hyped, a lot of technologies, a lot of innovation, a lot of research, technologies that may not be related to fintech, right, or to the financial industry, but in general, there's a high growth on and changes on how we do things, how we integrate, how we scale, right? These big tech companies have changed the game and they keep changing it, and everyone is trying to keep up. And every day there's a new thing, and from the data analytics part, from the machine learning part, from the deep learning part, and the number of things that are coming at us, right, as consultants or experts in the matter, and people who are there to try to facilitate this to businesses to implement, is simply significant. It's big, right? So, like that's one thing, and the other thing is the financial industry, right? The financial industry, the challenges within the financial industry are greater every day. In general, the financial industry has never been challenged the way it is being challenged right now, right? There have been challenges. This concept of a challenger bank is not new. We see it in history many times. It even looks like a cycle since 1920. But the way it's being challenged right now is very different because of the technology improvements, because of these new ideas and technologies, right? So when you put that together and you see the fintech market, there's a lot of, the only thing constant about a fintech market is that it's dynamic, right? Is that it's super dynamic, always changing, always new players growing from zero to unicorn in every year, less time, right? So it's hard to keep.
And at the same time, you see a lot of companies that you wouldn't consider fintechs are becoming fintechs. I heard the other day that every company now is a fintech, because every company now it has financial services attached to them. Amazon has become a fintech. Google is becoming a fintech. Apple is becoming a fintech. And any company, Walmart or whatever, they all in Mexico, Oxxo, they all becoming fintechs.
Right. Is the fintech trend, right? It's a whole trend, and I read recently something that is I think very useful in the sense. It's from the CEO of Ant Financial. This Ant Financial was Alipay before. He said something about, I don't want to misquote him, but it was something on the lines of, it's not about fintech, it's about fin life. So really, the innovation, right, is in the life or in the way people live their life, right? And And that has been happening since always, but I guess the major powertrain behind this is the smartphone, right? So when the smartphone came into play, the acceptance has been pretty much worldwide. Even the countries with less access to technology and resources, even those countries have a big acceptance of mobile phones, and the ratio of that percentage of, the ratio of how much of those phones are actually smartphones is really big. So the worldwide acceptance of the smartphone has been a key factor, right? And then if you consider how that has been changing their lives, right, is nonstop. And now we're in a phase where some of those changes include the aspects of your financial life, but it's still your life. And this is how you interact with the world, right? You interact with the world to do many things, and everything pretty much, especially in a capitalist country, the US, will require a intermediation. It will require an exchange of value. And that's where the financial life kicks in. The only difference is that financial life is now being enhanced by all the technologies we have. And that's why there's so many, right? There's room for everyone because everyone has a life, and pretty much all aspects of your life can be enhanced. The way you access health services, the way you access your taxi cab, right? The way you access your communication, the way you access your school, it's all been enhanced in every transaction, in each of these services or relationships. There's a financial exchange, right? So there's room for a lot of players, and this combination, right, of having this acceptance of the smartphone and having the technologies and having the economy that we have has created this space where companies can innovate and can change people's lives. So yeah, you can tell I'm pretty excited about it as well.
Well, tell me a little bit about let's talk about the McKinsey six chiefs.
Right. Yeah, we were discussing that beforehand. Yeah. So this is happening, right? The fintech changes, fintech industry is evolving. You mentioned Fioneer, so that's a big deal for us as a company, because Fioneer is looking to play a big role there. And the whole concept of the McKinsey six shifts is important because it tells you what, from a technological perspective, of course, as I said before, the first thing is how we change people's lives. But from the technological perspective, it tells you the many opportunities that this company has, right? Because if SAP from history, right? If you heard that name, probably the concept that you have from that company is that it is a big company with a big system, and implementing changes is hard. Speed is not their major, right? Yeah. How quickly they evolve is not their major advantage. So they really needed to do something to keep up, and that's why Pioneer is a great idea, right? They can make a smaller company that is more on the startup mindset, that can make changes quickly, and that can start building products to enhance the technological offerings that they have for fintechs or financial companies that are looking to become more fintech-like, or some other technological companies. So what are these six shifts? So there's a McKinsey digital transformation blog, which we can share to whoever's listening or watching this video. And in that blog, they explain, or they mention 6 shifts that are happening, and that should keep happening, and that probably will keep happening, right? There you go. On how to build a data architecture to drive innovation, right? So the first of these 6 shifts is from on-premise to cloud-based data platforms, right? So this really talks more on serverless, right? We all know this, right? It's the cloud offering that AWS started years ago. And now it takes more the form of Kubernetes, right? This whole idea of scaling, right? That Kubernetes bring in, and the serverless, right? That like stop thinking about individual boxes with individual operating systems that you should manage and buy every 3 years, a new server and new disks and new all of that, and start thinking more in a cloud paradigm. That there's a lot of changes with that, and that is no surprise for everyone, right? To anyone, right? Like that has been happening, it will keep happening, and in order to succeed, right, in the fintech market or any other IT landscape for that matter, you have to understand that this trend will keep going, and more things will be done in this way, in a way that it can be scaled up or down easily, right? You can scale horizontally easily, right? You can manage a very big load and peaks of internet traffic, and you can turn on or off the servers, right? Like actual either processing units for your REST APIs or whatever, or actual machines, but all of that virtually, right? You can create a new server, but it will be a virtual server on top of a cloud stack, right? So the key thing is that you don't have to think about a cloud as a group of computers that you don't know where they are. You might know where they are. You even might own them, right? This is where they own a site, but they have installed the cloud stack, like the Azure, Microsoft Azure cloud stack on top of it to make it work as cloud. So it's a way of providing the IT services that changes the paradigm, right? You can enable a database, turn it off, enable a server, turn it off, enable a Lambda function or like the AWS, but whatever is needed in this ecosystem for quickly offer the services. So that's one thing. I'll come back to that. The other thing that I think is relevant for the SAP Fioneer, for in order to keep up with the time, let's not go into every one of them, but the other thing that is important, I would say, is number 3, which is from pre-integrated commercial solutions to modular best-of-breed platforms. That's the point I want to make, I think. So what's been happening, and this is what McKinsey is telling its customers, is that pre-integrated commercial solutions are not anymore the standard. Best-of-breed and purpose-built is the new standard. So you will have, right, a variety of systems, all of them communicating between them with APIs, and actually that ties up with that's the same point, right? Ties up with a highly modular architecture, Some of those highly modular architectures or parts of the architecture might be microservices. Some architecture will be completely made out of microservices, but that's the idea, right? It's like highly modular. And when you see that and you turn back to SAP, right? If you think of SAP as it was some 10, 20 years ago, it was a big monolith, right? It's big rock that is not under this trend, right? So the key thing there is that SAP as a company has already, right, started years ago to build purpose-built solutions, right, to specific use cases, so that they can adapt better to their business use case. And they have also started to build things in this highly modular way, and they also have started to build it on the cloud, right? Years ago. So you still have the big box, the ERP, right? The mission critical component. And the funny thing is that McKinsey, from what we know, still recommends customers to buy SAP as a recommendation, right, to customers in the US. But what's on top of that mission critical component for an ERP or a core banking solution, there is a lot of modular services, and systems that communicate between themselves, and even a cloud component to it that also carries this idea of scalability and all that, right? So
and SAP has developed this business technology platform, this BTP, that allows SAP or the component to connect to anything, just to provide a solution for their customers, so they can integrate the core solution to any outside system.
Exactly. And they used to call it SAP Cloud Platform. Now it's called, as you said, BTP, Business Technology Platform. But that's a And now with Fioneer, so my point is SAP has already been on this track. But now with Fioneer, what happens is that they can do this faster and they can do this better on these lines, right? They are building for a given purpose. They are building solutions that are modular, that come with a API, and sometimes already come integrated, right, with some other systems, with some other APIs, right? Like in the case of the US, hopefully in the roadmap we will have this integration happening with Venmo and Play, then the open banking ecosystem and some other key players, right? Insurance players, Wells Fargo, to be able to provide some additional financial services to the customers that buy SAP Fioneer solutions, right? But what we see in the roadmap is a lot of highly specialized solutions, for example, for commercial lending, for banking, for insurance, right? So I think they're on the right track on that sense. And I mention it because I think the traditional understanding of SAP here in the US is that it's a old schooler, right? And what can they know about Fioneer if Fioneer is a spin-off of an old schooler, is that it's also an old schooler. But reality is that no, the SAP Fioneer is trying to keep up. The fintech market has already evolved a bit without SAP Fioneer, but they are and they will catch up with some product offerings that will be very valuable for many of the customers that are starting today or tomorrow fintechs here in the US, especially those that are on the lending side, insurance side, or deposits side of things. Right. And this is very interesting. There are many points to make here in the McKinsey 6 shifts, but let's leave it at that.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the future. How you see the future, not just for DYCSI, but for in the fintech marketplace. what do you see it's going on ahead, after this transition that's been happening in the last 2 years, very fast? How do you see the future?
Right. So it's going to be or keep being dynamic, right? And no one will be able to predict what's going to happen. The turnover of companies will be high, and like new companies are going to,
I see a lot of mergers. I see a lot of companies just going bust as well. It's going to be a lot of mergers.
So, yeah. A
Fintechs,
lot of
banks buying fintechs.
Exactly. And banks creating their spin-off bank, right, with a more fintech-like key image, fully digital and all this. But the constant will still be that change, and hopefully what we'll see is that for us as customers, really, because at the end of the day, you and I are still customers of the financial system. We will begin to see an increase in the value added to us. So and that should be our metric, right? Like we will see an increase of how easy is to perform an intermediation, how easy is to send money between Mexico and the US, how easy is to pay for something, how easy is to search for something, right? How easy is to search for your insurance solution that is the best fit for you, right? Or an insurance solution that is the best fit, plus gives you the better information on how to get the most out of it and reduce the lack of information, right, to both sides of the partnership between you and the insurance company. That same way with the bank, lowest fees, lowest interest rate, right? That is the metric. It should help us, right? It's not about the tech. It's not about how cool it is to solve something with deep learning, but it should have an effect because it's fintech, right? It's financial technology. But first it's financial, right? Like the intermediation cost should be lower, should be more efficient. Fees for credit cards should be lower because now that competition has opened up and regulation hopefully will keep up, because that's another challenge. We should see technology bringing efficiencies, right? As technology has brought efficiencies to other segments, to other industries. But so far, it's hard to say that the technology has brought efficiencies to the financial industry, because the financial industry in itself has been problematic, to say the least, right? With many dimensions, the government involved and all this, and this distrust and all that. But at the end of the day, if we succeed, that should be the effect, right? And the other side of that coin is that DYCSI and Fioneer should play a role in that, should play a role in enabling companies to add value, right, to customers and give them better options and give them better solutions to their life from a financial perspective, right? So that is a big task, but if you start to break down, regulation is a big portion, and that's where things get less shiny, right? When you say regulation, everyone's like, yeah, but it's a reality, and it's a reality that is there to protect the customer and to protect the market as a whole, and the macroeconomic and all that. So I think that's where Pioneer and DYCSI play a big role, because regulation, reg tech, is not easy. And as I said, it might become boring, but it's boring because it's not easy, and it's not shiny, and it's not the convenient UI UX shiny thing. It's the the thing that keeps this moving. So in RegTech, there's a lot to do. There's IFRS 9 for financial instruments. Of course, there's Basel 3 and all that in the aftermath of the 2008 crisis. But there's also IFRS 15 for revenue recognition, IFRS 16 for leasing, IFRS 17 for insurance contracts, and there's a new long duration for insurance contracts that are long duration, LDTI, a way of handling and putting them into your balance. That's also a change. So SAP is building solutions that will enable, let me rephrase that, Fioneer already has solutions that enable companies to comply with those requirements, right? And so that they can focus on the things that probably add more value to the final customer directly. Indirectly, keeping up with the regulations adds value, because it means the whole system stands on its own, yeah. But they probably want to focus on more customer-facing activities, right? So that's where Pioneer plays a big role. Pioneer can come in, here's FPSL, solves this for you. The only thing you need to do is to connect it, and you can connect it with pretty much any type of solution, Oracle or whatever you have, and now you can apply. And fintech companies trying to skip regulation is not new, especially in this in this landscape where regulation sometimes is hard to define for fintech and this gray area and all that. But at some point, fintechs will realize they have to comply with many bodies, especially here in the US. Sometimes at the federal level, sometimes at the state level. Insurance is more on the state level. So IFRS 17 is actually it's an international standard, but the regulators are mostly on the state level. So even that has its caveats, right? But the end idea there is that fintechs will be more, they will be more likely to think about these things, and that's where Fioneer and us, DYCSI, will have a big role. And I'm looking forward to help these kind of companies to implement FPSL and solve this for them, right? So they can move on. But also as a consequence of these RegTech solutions and the solutions that SAP Fioneer is offering, I think we will be more into lending. Commercial lending is a big vertical, but also mortgage is part of the solutions that SAP Fioneer offers, and is a big part of what we do at DYCSI. We're super experts in that. I don't like to say things about myself, but that's the one thing that I know I super do, right? Like if you tell me about mortgage loans, yeah, that you cannot beat me. I know everything there is to know. Yeah. And this loans module in SAP that helps you handle that, and we're super experts in that. And that solution is being enhanced with banking for complex loans and this commercial lending vertical and all that. So there's a pretty cool roadmap in that way, in that sense. In the InsurTech, there's also big things coming. There are also big things coming. SAP had a S4I, which stands for S for insurance. Now it's C4I, Cloud for Insurance solution. That also has been worked on. And we will have end-to-end solutions for that market to facilitate claims management and all these nuances of this industry, while still complying in a plug-and-play way with these regulations and the upcoming ones, because we know, from what we know, new regulations will come, because these markets are not yet as regulated, or regulated in in a stable way. Keeps changing, especially with blockchain and all this technology push that the technology development is doing. And yeah, I would say in general, banking, right? Deposit, these cash apps that offer cash management solutions, where you have balance. That's also a bread and butter for SAP Fioneer. From what we know, Cloud for Banking does everything you need, right? Calculates the interest, does the posting, integrates with your general ledger solution, with your sub-ledger solution, right? There's even a built-in solution that you can just turn on, integrates with your CRM, right? And has the APIs to connect with mobile apps. And so C4B, right, is also a key player. And hopefully we will hear more about it in the US landscape, and we will see more banks, right, using the SAP Fioneer solutions, banking services from SAP Fioneer, or Cloud for Banking as a package. But yeah, there's a lot.
And I see we're very well prepared to serve that market. Based in Austin, the office, we can serve the US, Canada, and also Europe or Asia as well, and also have the big headquarters in Monterrey, in Mexico City as well. The office is getting quite big to serve the Latin American market. Colombia, Honduras, Brazil, that we've seen projects over there as well. A very big market there, and so yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting journey. This year is going to be very excited, and I think the next years are a lot of things will change and will keep growing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanna say just to close this meeting, this interview, this session, face-to-face, DYCSI face-to-face today? Maybe say something for the newcomers, for the consultants that are joining the company. Any thoughts you want to share with them?
Sure. What I can tell anyone who's joining or thinking to join us is that we have walked the walk and we have talked the talk, right? We have done it.
20 years now. This year, DYCSI turns 20 years.
Yeah. So those 20 years plus all the years of experience from the founding partners, right, the company, adds up to a very knowledgeable set of experts, set of colleagues, and essentially a team, right? That even if we do not know how to approach a specific problem in the financial industry or in the fintech industry, we know how this works from the first principles and up, right? So we can solve it, and we can teach people on how to do it, and teach people not only the technology side, but also the finance side, right? From an economic perspective and boiling down to the specifics of the financial industry. So I think we're a good team to be part of, and the leadership, it's been like today's leadership of the company. It's great, right? It's never been better in the sense that the set of qualities and knowledge and diversity and things that everyone puts in is wider, right? There are many faces with many different ideas. Everyone gets to speak up, and everyone gets a saying, and everyone gets a vote, and the best idea wins, right? It's not an organization that like whoever is in charge says what we're gonna do. Yeah, it's the best idea wins, right? And we're a cool team. I think I have had my fun. There are many different members of this team with different personalities, and you can find people in this team to be friends with, right? To be friends with it. At the end of the day, it's a happy team. Like these ego battles and like office conflicts are not something that happens here. It's easy to team up here. I think at least I strive to be a good team member, right? Make it easy to work with, add value to our customers, and just try to be the best team possible that we can be. So yeah, if someone's thinking about joining, please do, right? And give us a shot. We will try to do our best to teach you, train you. One of our key core values is to share knowledge. That's always been my mantra since the day I joined. That's always been the mantra of the people around me since the day I joined, and that's why I was able to grow fast, right? Everyone never has anyone hide knowledge from me, and that's why we grow, right? That's why we can do great stuff together, like Acting Better, like New York State, and all these big projects in DYCSI's history.
Yeah, IB, yeah, Flower Foods. Anyway, well, thank you very much, Carlos, for your time today, and thanks everyone for listening. If you're here, is because you listened to all of the session. We appreciate your time, and I hope this was enjoyable, and you get to learn something about DYCSI, about SAP Pioneer, and about the future and how we see the future in the industry. Please keep following us and join us in the next sections of DYCSI Face to Face. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.